Good afternoon. Webinar Wednesday here. I'm TechNation editor John Wallace, and I'm excited to be with you today as we learn more about the Claroty xDome. Claroty xDome spans the entire healthcare cybersecurity journey, regardless of the scale or maturity of your environment, through asset management, exposure management, network protection, threat detection, and operational efficiency. As a modular solution, Claroty xDome is suited for organizations at any stage in its healthcare cybersecurity journey, regardless of scale, staffing, or program maturity. The solution consists of platform essentials, offering foundational capabilities across all core areas mentioned above, as well as advanced modules that provide increased value and enhanced programmatic capabilities. Thank you to today's sponsor, Claroty. Claroty empowers HDOs to comprehensively monitor and manage risk across their healthcare extended Internet of Things environment. For more information, check them out at claroty.com. That's CLAROTY.com. Now, real quick, we're going to do some trivia time. That's right. Time to give away a $25 Amazon gift card. So January is National Soup Month. What region, not state, what region of the United States is typically known for its clam chowder? Answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard, and I'll reveal the answer and the lucky winner at the end of the webinar. Now, I want to remind everyone that today's presentation is eligible for 1 CE credit from the ACI. 1 hour after the end of today's broadcast, you will receive an emailed survey. Completing that survey will grant access to a certificate that you can download and print from your computer. We will wrap up today's broadcast with a Q&A. Please note that the webinar dashboard includes a questions feature. You can submit your questions for our presenter at any time during the demo. And if we don't get to your question, we will follow up with an email to provide information to answer your question. All right, today's presenter is Claroty's Principal Product Marketing Manager, Adina Schoenman. Adina, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Awesome, sounds great. Thank you, John. Hi, everyone. My name is Adina Schoenman, and I'm excited to chat with you today from over here at Claroty. Here to chat a little bit about our flagship healthcare solution, Claroty xDome, and the types of value we can bring to your healthcare network. So let's jump right in here. Okay, so quick agenda. What can you expect out of the session today? First, we're going to chat a little bit about kind of our take here on the healthcare cybersecurity landscape, maybe to get you thinking on your key priorities and focuses for your program going into 2025. We'll talk a little bit about our solution. If you're not familiar with it, it's Claroty xDome for healthcare. We'll dive right into a quick product demo in hopes that we can give you a quick view of what our solution looks like today. And if you have any interest, always open to getting you connected and learning more with us. We'll talk a little bit about some key business outcomes that we've seen our customers see from adopting a solution such as Claroty xDome for healthcare. And then we'll finish the session out with some key cybersecurity product trends you may see from us in 2025. In case you have any interest there, and we're happy to get you connected more if any of these topics stand out for your program efforts going into 2025. So with that, let's jump right into chatting a little bit about the healthcare cybersecurity landscape as we head into 2025. So as we think about the state of the healthcare market today here at Claroty, and how we can best serve our customers, how we can best create solutions for device management, medical device cybersecurity, and the like, we really think about the healthcare market in 3 key themes. The first one being expanded connectivity. So the pace of automation and connectivity within healthcare organizations is constantly accelerating. We've seen digital transformation continue to take the industry by storm, especially over the past couple of years, in ways to elevate patient care, drive stronger operational efficiencies, and adapt new and innovative technologies across hospitals, clinics, medical offices, and the like. In 2025, we expect to see a continuation of this trend. Some key trends in the healthcare market we expect are things such as using AI for stronger diagnosis and treatment plans, greater adoption of wearables in general in healthcare, and how they can be integrated into chronic disease management, personalized treatment plans, as well as overall better healthcare data management, interoperability, and standardization within the industry and within device management processes and procedures. With that being said, growing expanded connectivity introduces new types of devices into clinical and non-clinical workflows, namely things such as medical devices, which I imagine many of you on the call are the primary owner or manager of today, but also other devices within your network, such as IoT devices and OT devices that may not live within traditional IT processes and procedures. As we see clinical workflows becoming more interconnected, we actually expect IoT devices specifically, for example, to continue to grow, reaching nearly 4 billion globally, more than twice than today's number by 2029. New devices introduce a bigger need to manage, maybe different technologies to introduce in your environment. So that's something important to think about. Next, let's chat a little bit about, the state of the healthcare market in regards to cybersecurity specifically. So the healthcare industry tends to be an increasingly targeted industry for ransomware and other cybersecurity threats. Heightened threat activity is something that's been a trend over recent years, and we will continue to see that into 2025. According to Ponemon Institute, cyber attacks can result in detrimental aspects of hospital operations, largely due to system availability problems that can result to an average cost of $1.47 million. This is a 13% increase that was reported in 2023. Here at Claroty, we've dug into the numbers on heightened threat activity in devices such as both medical devices, but also other cyber physical systems, such as IoT technologies and operational technology within hospital environments. 78% of respondents last year had met ransomware demands of $500,000 or more to recover access to encrypted systems and files in order to properly resume operations and properly manage their devices when an incident did occur. We feel this goes hand in hand with the trend of expanded connectivity requires stronger controls, and heightened threat activity only adds to really keeping tabs on your existing device management efforts and how you can better manage your medical devices and other devices moving forward. And lastly, let's chat a little bit about regulatory pressures. So all of us who operate in the healthcare industry today understand it's a highly regulated industry, and there's constant pressure to expand your healthcare cybersecurity programs and device management programs. And this will continue to expand throughout the year. The regulatory landscape, we all know, is highly complex. There are a number of factors that come into play, things such as HIPAA and the HITECH Act to better understand or put processes into place on how your PHI and other information is properly managed. Common cybersecurity frameworks and standards that can help provide a level of standardization and a structured approach to your device management efforts, for example, the NIST framework, as well as state and local government regulations. Depending on where you're geographically located, different regions may enforce different local best practices and guidelines that it's important to stay on top of within your environment as a device manager. And lastly, when incidents do occur, there's often mandatory reporting and incident response requirements, both internally as well as external guidelines, that's important to understand and follow moving forward. So this kind of gives you a background of the state of the healthcare market, things to think about at a macro level, maybe as you're building out your program efforts and how you manage your devices today. So let's segue and talk a little bit about common risks and threats that we see within the modern healthcare network. So as more devices are becoming connected to the internet in order to better enable patient care, more risks can become more prevalent than others. So at Claroty, we call this CPS risk, cyber physical systems risk, that encompass both medical devices, but also other technologies that live outside of traditional IT protocols. And we've looked into what some common risks, threats, or things to keep in mind as you build out your program efforts in 2025. First being, how are you managing the life cycle of your devices? Do you have devices on your network that are currently operating unsupported or end of life? Our research shows that about 14% of medical devices today are operating unsupported at end of life. For surgical devices specifically, that number is about 7%. So what is the thought here? Consider how you're managing your device life cycles, maybe what processes and procedures do you have in place, and particularly of medical devices that are mission critical to patient care. Are you proactively managing the life cycle of your devices? Next, let's talk about cyber incidents in particular. 65% of cyber incidents that have happened over the past year have particularly impacted devices that live with outside of traditional IT, medical devices, IoT technologies, and operational technologies within a health system. Some of these devices may be unmanaged or undermanaged from a vulnerability management standpoint. And it's important to think about what your program efforts look like. Do you have incident preparedness if something were to occur? And is there anything you can do to streamline efforts today to stay prepared in the event of an attack? Next, let's talk a little bit about prevalent risks within your network. A huge use case that we see from our customers when it comes to better managing their security postures and risk within their networks is vulnerability management. Here at Claroty, we like to take an overall approach in understanding risk across your environment. And we actually did some research last year that revealed that 38% of your highest risk devices are actually missed by taking a traditional vulnerability management approach using CVSS scores. This is what we like to call here as the CPS blind spot. So what does this mean? It's important to think about exposure management or common exposure scenarios within your hospital environment that may be more susceptible to risk, in addition to identifying and understanding and acting on vulnerabilities. That being said, vulnerability management is absolutely critical, and again, a huge use case that we see across the board in medical device cybersecurity programs today. 23% of devices involved in clinical care contain at least one exploited vulnerability. So it's important to think about how are you managing vulnerabilities today, and are you prioritizing the ones that are most critical to patient care? And lastly, something we'd like to bring up and something that we're really thinking about going into 2025 is third-party connectivity. Do you understand secure remote access or what third-party access looks like in your environment? Our research shows that 44% of hospitals are currently using 6 or more third-party access tools, potentially introducing risks or a lack of visibility into third-party connectivity within your network, which as a device manager just makes things inefficient and more susceptible to risk in the proper operation of your devices. So with that, I hope that kind of gives you an understanding as we think about common risks and threats that we see within healthcare environments. To double down here on the complex regulatory landscape, again, to reiterate, we really think about 2 key things. Are you adopting known frameworks or cybersecurity best practices when it comes to proper device management of your medical devices? This chart here from class released last year shows common cybersecurity frameworks and guidelines. Again, NIST CSF tends to be very common, CIS controls, etc. Hopefully these are familiar regulations to you and maybe a good baseline of what your program's following today. But it's also important in staying current in what is relevant to your environment. For example, in the United States, about this time last year in January 2024, the HHS released CPG's cybersecurity performance goals, introducing new best practices and guidelines for the industry moving forward. The release included a set of essential goals as well as enhanced goals, introducing new guidelines on how healthcare organizations can address vulnerabilities and other cybersecurity threats across the environment. More recently, you may have heard some of the more recent announcements around the HIPAA security rule that's currently open for public comment, and the desire to strengthen the cybersecurity of electronic protected health information moving forward. we'll see progress or over there within the next couple months. But it's important to think about as some of these regulations come out, having a solution such as Claroty xDome or something similar can ensure your preparedness and your ability to adhere to some of these regulations moving forward. So next, if you're on the call today, chances are you may either be looking to get more out of your existing solution. You may be having challenges with the existing asset discovery solution that you may have in place. And so we thought it would be interesting to highlight common challenges we see to existing security programs, especially if you may already have a solution in place. So before we jump there, let's just talk about, common threats or challenges that we see when it comes to business disruption within healthcare environments. When surveying professionals last year, key things popped up: regulatory implications that we've chatted about, but also things such as financial loss, product delivery shutdowns, reputational damage. These are common concerns that we see from, a lack of managing your devices properly or having the right cybersecurity controls in place. However, if you have a solution in place, you may be thinking about, how can I improve it? How can I improve my existing program efforts? We see a lot of organizations that already have some type of asset discovery solution in place when it comes to medical devices, IoT devices, and OT devices. Yet they're still looking for stronger support. So a question I have for you today is, if you have a solution in place, has your existing investment, supported your overall organizational risk tolerance? Maybe what does your existing investment not achieve that you would like to improve? And some common, answers that we may see from there is, one, do you have the proper data foundation in place? So if your existing inventory lacks data integrity, or you feel that you don't have the right information of all your devices within your health system, this can certainly be problematic. So are your asset inventories aligning? For example, if you're using a CMMS or CMDB, is your asset discovery solution reconciling with that inventory? What does that look like today? Do you overall feel you have the proper data foundation in place? Without a strong asset foundation, which these days can require passive monitoring, but other active data collection methods for certain devices, you may want to think about that and how it could potentially introduce additional care delivery risk within your network. Next, let's chat about noise. So no one likes an overwhelming volume of alerts, especially when it comes to vulnerabilities. There may be an overwhelming, unresolved amount of risks in your existing network. This could be due to taking primarily a CVSS-based approach to vulnerability management. If you zoom outside of biomed engineering departments or clinical engineering departments and think about it from an overall healthcare cybersecurity perspective, you may have gaps outside of medical devices. You may not be collecting the right data on OT technology or building automation systems, for example. And you may have many false positives, leaving blind spots if not properly addressed or prioritized and acting on the most critical risks moving forward. And then lastly, you may have problems with operationalizing your cybersecurity program. If you lack the ability to truly scale program efforts, there's a couple of reasons why this may happen. Asset visibility is critically important, but it's truly only the first step in the process. The ability to operationalize for results, adopt more sophisticated cybersecurity best practices and approaches, as well as having the right resources and funding for your program is critically important. Lastly, you may be missing untapped business value. There's certainly ways to take data that you're getting from discovering your solutions for cybersecurity purposes and enable your departments to prove ROI or improve ROI and reduce costs for your departments moving forward. So that may be something to think about as you build sophistication into your existing device management efforts. So from there, I hope this kind of gives you a background or some things to think about when it comes to how you're managing your medical devices today. And I'd like to introduce the solution that we offer here at Claroty. Claroty xDome, or Claroty xDome for Healthcare, is our purpose-built healthcare solution that helps you protect and secure cyber-physical systems, medical devices, IoT, and OT devices for your entire healthcare cybersecurity journey. If you know our company or if you've been following us for a while, you likely know us as Medigate or the Medigate platform. And we're excited over the last couple months to share that as a part of the Claroty portfolio, we've been introduced into the Claroty xDome product portfolio that will help us provide industry-leading technology and stronger support moving forward. So if you're currently a Medigate customer, this is the solution, and that will continue to be your one-stop shop, hopefully, for your medical device cybersecurity needs, with some new added capabilities coming soon. We're excited and humbled on our class recognition over the past 4 years. And if you're interested in purchasing a solution today, maybe we highly encourage you to check out some of those reviews and learn a little bit more about our platform. So before we dive into the platform today, a couple things I'd like to say about the value of having a platform approach here with Claroty xDome. As mentioned previously, we know in biomed, we know in healthcare cybersecurity in general, there's a talent lack. About 80% of healthcare organizations cite difficulties finding the right personnel with the skills required to manage healthcare cybersecurity. So it's really important that you have the right technology in place and easily usable technology in place to properly manage efforts. We're proud to say we've gotten feedback on our solution as achieving faster time to value, risk reduction, as well as a lower total cost of ownership for healthcare organizations. As we think about our platform and our notion as Claroty xDome, we do want to call out that we pride ourselves on our technology, and we also pride ourselves being a purpose-built healthcare platform. We currently serve and will continue to serve many personas within the healthcare industry, including academic centers, community hospitals, clinics, not-for-profit organizations, rural health systems, and the like, and are committed to building the right product and the right use case backed by our asset visibility, as well as our strong solution set for cybersecurity controls to protect both clinical and non-clinical workflows and medical devices are in these areas. So as we think about what solutions do we offer today, our solution, Claroty xDome, is backed by our foundational asset discovery, which we'll show you momentarily, but it's also purpose-built from a modular perspective to solve core and common use cases and challenges we see of better medical device management and cyber physical systems device management in healthcare environments. Exposure management, so how are you managing vulnerabilities, prioritizing them, and assessing risks is a critical one. We also enable better network protection, so how are devices talking to each other, what are medical devices talking to in the network, and implementing network segmentation programs. Again, third-party connectivity, enabling secure remote access for healthcare operations and frictionless support for both internal and third-party users. Threat detection, so understanding threats in your network, understanding clinical context within threats that do happen, and helping to protect patient safety and enhance security moving forward. And then lastly, we do have some use cases around operational efficiency, so enabling you to track locations of devices within your network, profiling devices to manage and monitor utilization across devices in your network, as well as their operational status that can enable you to drive better procurement decisions, enable operational efficiencies, and other operational outcomes across your environments moving forward. So from there, I'm going to jump to the product here and give you a quick overview. So here you can see this is the Claroty xDome platform, our purpose-built solution for our healthcare customers and prospects. What you see here is the Claroty xDome dashboard that can give you a view of what your asset inventory looks like. So as you can see here, we can tell you what devices are on the network, what types of devices. So over 7,000 medical devices are currently existing on this network today. We can highlight right off the bat high-risk devices, suspicious activity on the network, and any new devices added to the network over the week. You can also drill into key capabilities across your entire asset inventory, such as what manufacturers tend to be most prevalent within your network, protocols, identifying most common types of devices that may be high risk, as well as device type family distributions, etc. Our asset dashboard is highly configurable. So whether you're a biomed technician, a medical device cybersecurity expert, or any type of persona, depending on which devices you manage, you can really configure your view to get the information that you need based on your role. You could identify things such as in-depth attributes on your asset inventory. You can dive into risk, vulnerabilities in order to better manage vulnerability management programs, compliance capabilities, alerting mechanisms for any threats or incidents or suspicious behavior that may occur, as well as understanding network traffic, how devices are segmented, and what enforcement policies you may have in place from a network protection standpoint moving forward. So that kind of gives you an idea of how you can configure this. Again, highly configurable, and as we dive into different aspects of the product, we'll give you a little bit more context on each of these. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about our asset foundation. So obviously, our platform is focused on protecting and securing medical devices and identifying them within your network. So oftentimes, you may implement a solution such as ours, alleviate any manual inventory tracking that you may be doing today, or just overall getting a better understanding of what types of devices are currently on your network. So I hope this gives you an idea of the depth and breadth of the types of devices that we can collect. Now let's click into an MRI machine, for example, to give you an understanding of what a device profile may look like at the micro level. So this is a Siemens MRI machine, for example, and this kind of gives you a view of what device profile looks like for each device that we are picking up on your network. As you can see here, our device information can show key attributes such as identifying what the device is, what the manufacturer is, but also technical information such as IP, MAC address, the device ID, what type of device is it? In this case, it's an imaging device, our versions, and where it's sitting on the network, what network is it sitting on, the VLAN, the connection type, etc. We also can drill into location. So we can tell you which site your device may be sitting at. Your implementation of a solution like this is likely to cover multiple sites. And so we can track that, as well as the data sources that they've been collected from. Many of our customers, as mentioned, integrate with our CMMS and CMDB. We can match by serial number to ensure inventories are reconciled and you're working from one robust inventory solution with all of the data that you need to best manage these devices. So that's kind of an idea of what a device profile looks like. Let's talk a little bit about risk. So this device specifically is actually flagged as critical risk. So what does that mean? Each device within Claroty xDome is given a risk score that's measured on a few key factors. The one being likelihood. So again, what is the life cycle of your device? Is it running on an outdated operating system, outdated firmware? Is it currently end of life? All of that is factored into your risk score. We also attribute vulnerabilities. So in this case, we have 40 known vulnerabilities attributed to this critical risk device. Other aspects we look at is where it's sitting on the network. So what type of connection type, where is it sitting? Are there any insecure protocols within this device? What is it internet connected, for example? If there are any compensating controls on the device, that's also factored in the risk score, as well as impact. So especially when it comes to medical devices on your network, it's important to get an understanding of, is it currently storing PHI? What is the consequence of failure to patient safety, for example, if it were not to be operable? And is there any strong financial costs if this were to be down to hospital operations moving forward? So this kind of gives you an idea. This is a critical risk device, what we're measuring that off of. Something interesting and kind of cool about our platform that I always like sharing is our risk simulator. So we can not only give you a risk score of the device, but we can also give you automated recommendations on how to get your risk score down. So for example, we can get your risk score down to low and highlight a couple key attributes that you may want to consider looking into. Things such as known vulnerabilities, your firmware, the VLAN topology are highlighted right off the bat, and something that you may want to consider looking into a little bit deeper as you resolve any risks or vulnerabilities on this device. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of how one device within your network is measured from a risk perspective. Let's drill down into, so obviously if there are any vulnerabilities identified on your device, it will show up within the device profile with the CVEs as well as detailed information about the vulnerability, understanding if it's actively being exploited and the like. And then let's drill down here into how it's sitting on your network. So with each device on your network, we do track communication, how it's sitting on the network. If there was any blocked traffic, for example, on this device, it would be displayed here. Lastly, for our large imaging devices, for example, we can get a little bit deeper into exactly how a device may be used on your network. We give key information such as what is the device utilization rate, what are its typical operating hours, its exam distribution, how many devices is it performing exams on, and what is the device exactly used for over time. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea of, what devices look like across your network and our foundation, our robust data foundation that our platform solves for to implement key cybersecurity processes and controls. So as we drill into our core cybersecurity risk use cases, one being vulnerability, exposure, and risk management, threat detection, network protection, and operational efficiency, I'll just give you a quick view on kind of some interesting things that you can see within the platform. So first, you can navigate directly to our risk overview page. So I just showed you what a risk score looks like for an MRI machine, for example. I can also give you information on what your security posture looks like as a whole. So across all devices on your network, although you do have some devices on your network that are critical risk, your total risk score is actually 48.5. You can drill into things such as what percent, of devices are critical and high risk. You can drill into risk factor distribution. So known vulnerabilities is right off the bat, showing the highest likelihood or the effect on your total risk score. And a lot of key information here to understand, what your risk your overall risk looks like. Jumping ahead of myself. Next here is your risk recommendations. So similar to our risk simulator that can show you a specific device and how to get a risk score down, our platform also gives information on risk recommendations. So for example, outdated firmware is a hardening category that we offer, where we recommend you update any firmware of specific devices, contact the manufacturer if needed, and we actually give you, an aggregate of devices that are a part of this risk recommendation that you can drill into further and decide, at your discretion if it makes sense. You can filter down into, of the specific risk recommendation, which devices are at highest risk to act on immediately, to get a better understanding of what risks and vulnerabilities or risk recommendations to look into moving forward. Next here, I'd like to show you, in addition to our risk overview, vulnerability management tends to be a critical area we see in healthcare cybersecurity programs, and one of the first things that teams like to focus on. And so we do have a dedicated dashboard for understanding your vulnerability posture. You can get an understanding of the vulnerabilities on your network, which types of devices tend to be most critical, your vulnerability postures and trends over time. We can identify your top vulnerabilities, give you an understanding of which are most actively exploited, and any device types or models that happen to be most susceptible to risk or vulnerabilities. So that's kind of an understanding of your risk overview, your vulnerability overview with various aspects you can drill into. I will quickly show you our vulnerabilities page. So again, similar to at the MRI level, you can drill into all vulnerabilities identified across your network. You can drill into any actively exploited vulnerabilities across your network to get an understanding of, what's in your network, what's most critical, what's being actively exploited, and what to act on moving forward and remediate on moving forward. Next, I'll give you a quick snapshot into our threat detection capabilities. So when you think about threat detection within your environment, it's critical to think about how are you managing threats for medical devices specifically, and do they have the right clinical context in place in order to remediate on and act on quickly. Something that we see several of our customers who use our threat detection capabilities today really appreciate is our alignment to the MITRE ATT&CK enterprise framework. This is a common framework in the industry that many SOC teams abide by. And so any threat that comes through the system on your medical devices, for example, will be mapped to this framework. And this really helps to enable instrument operations. If you're aligning with the security team on how you're managing devices moving forward, this helps give them a view into relevant alerts that align with the MITRE ATT&CK moving forward. As far as the types of risks and threats that we can implement within the system, I'd like to show you a couple quick things. We do offer predefined alerts in the system. You can create alerts for devices being end of life, for example. You can create alerts on external unencrypted PHI transmission on a device, functionality recalls, outdated firmware. And you can also create your own customized alerting mechanisms based on your organizational risk tolerance. So things like device change alerts. Has a medical device that's been offline for 3 years randomly returned online? If so, it may be something that you want to look into. You want to make sure any retired devices are not popping up on the network again. So that's something that we commonly see some of our customers use for device change alerts. Can also track things such as network changes, a device switching from a network like a corporate to a guest network, or from a guest to a corporate network, maybe something that you want to be notified by, as well as any location changes in your environment can be tracked, versioning changes, etc. Again, you can create custom communication alerts, custom device alerts, understanding medical devices that are on guest networks, PHI containing medical devices with internet communications. There's a lot of customization here based on the types of things that you want to track specifically for medical devices, as well as other devices within your network. And then I'll quickly show here from a network security perspective, we enable network protection and network segmentation within your environment. This kind of gives you a view of a dashboard if you are enforcing any policies or monitoring network traffic for your medical devices. This is something you can do within our platform. Likely working with the cybersecurity team, you may recommend and enforce any ACL policies and enforce them directly in the platform with your existing network infrastructure. And then lastly, our operational efficiency part of the product can drill into efficiency recommendations. So this kind of gives you a dashboard that shows you things like device location. We can track where devices are sitting on your network. We can track CMMS reconciliation and what that looks like across different types of assets. We can also track recommendation types. So much like our risk recommendations, we do offer efficiency recommendations within the platform. Things such as devices that may be offline and haven't been online for the past 90 days, overdue preventative maintenance, etc. End-of-life devices. These are all things that we can track and monitor directly within the platform. So hopefully that kind of gives you a quick overview of what our asset discovery looks like in some quick examples on different use cases you can solve. Obviously, I'm happy to dive into those further if you have any questions following the session or have any interest in any of those areas. So let's just talk about a couple key things that we see as far as business outcomes from adopting a solution such as ours. So first example I'd like to share is a large academic HCO that selected Claroty xDome specifically to bolster data integrity. So in this specific example, an existing solution lacked accuracy, the proper role permissions, and this resulted in lost trust from stakeholders and end users of the platform across their hospital environment. After choosing a solution like Claroty xDome, we were able to provide asset visibility to around 340% more of their previously undiscovered devices, identifying new device types, medical devices that were previously missed by their historical asset discovery processes and procedures, which help drive stronger adoption across the HDO of the platform, but also the ability to implement stronger cybersecurity controls and greatly improve cybersecurity postures for their medical devices specifically. Next, I'd like to highlight the criticality of integrations, both from a biomed perspective. So are you integrating with your CMMS or CMDB, but also what your relationship looks like with cybersecurity teams and integrating into existing security infrastructure. In this particular instance, a well-known cancer center selected Claroty xDome to seamlessly expand their integrations. They desired segmentation, so monitoring network traffic across how their medical devices were communicating with other devices on the network, and realized that they needed a stronger set of integrations with their IT security technologies in order to remove asset blind spots. By implementing Claroty xDome, they were able to integrate with IT solutions such as Cisco's portfolio and Elicities, and this helped provide a more accurate discovery of their medical devices, but also policy enforcement of network traffic moving forward. So hope those are just a couple ideas, quick ways that a value you may be able to achieve and better manage your devices by implementing a solution such as Claroty xDome. Next, I'd like to leave you with some key cybersecurity product trends that you may see coming from us here at Claroty and some of our subject matter experts as we head into the year. First, industry benchmarking. So we showed you how we can manage and assess risk within your network and provide risk scores. Using our robust customer base, we plan to identify what types of risk factors are most prevalent in medical devices and benchmark how you measure up against health systems of your shape and size. So you can see here, this chart is an example. Outdated firmware stands out for this particular org and is also about on par with the average of similar organizations. It's something that we strive to do to help our customers understand where they are in their cybersecurity journey and help narrow down on which risks to focus on or which risks that they may see popping up within their network moving forward. Next, I'd like to discuss clinical zero trust. So what does your relationship look like with cybersecurity teams today as far as network segmentation? Is network segmentation that you should be thinking about? And how are you overall thinking about access controls of medical devices and other devices within your clinical network? We do have a white paper that we have available, I believe, for you to download following this webinar. If you have any interest on this topic with some examples on how Claroty approaches this today. Next, mention third-party connectivity being a challenge or the challenges of device management in managing remote access and third-party connectivity. We're currently trialing a solution here at Claroty, working with some design partners on the solution within the Claroty xDome portfolio. If you or any stakeholders in your organization have any interest in kind of improving what secure remote access looks like within your healthcare cybersecurity journey, we'd love to have you a part of our design partner program today. And please follow up if you have any interest moving forward. And then lastly, I'd like to leave you with how are you integrating with your existing network infrastructure? So from a device management standpoint, are you integrating with your CMDB or CMMS? What other solutions do you have in place that make sense to integrate with? What does your medical device cybersecurity protocols look like? Are you integrating with monitoring and ticketing systems, network infrastructure such as NAC and firewalls, and other solutions such as vulnerability and patch management systems moving forward? We really focus here on harnessing your existing infrastructure to strengthen cybersecurity in asset discovery in general across your entire healthcare ecosystem. It's something that we expect to see in 2025 as well. So I'd like to leave you with that. I'm happy to take any questions that may have popped up on the line. And then, of course, if you have any specific questions or would like to follow up with a team member here at Claroty directly, feel free to contact contact@claroty.com or feel free to shoot me a LinkedIn message as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dina, thank you. That was a great presentation. I do want to mention that white paper and some other handouts are available in the handout tab. So if any attendees are interested in those, they can go to the handout tab and download those items. And we did have some questions come in, so I will get to those real quick. But before I do, I want to go ahead and announce that we do have a winner from our trivia today for a $25 Amazon gift card. And the winner is Sam Feldman in Boston. Of course, the correct answer was New England is the region that is known for its clam chowder. Some of the questions that came in is, can it track maintenance schedule? And talking about known vulnerabilities, do you work with ECRI? So I think they're asking if it can be connected to ECRI's alerts or something along those lines.
You know, ECRI, I know we have familiarity with it. We have some of our customers using it. I think that's something as far as how we would integrate or how we would best work into that workflow. It's probably something, if you're a current customer, we'd happy to connect you with the right person, but happy to have a side conversation on that and what that really looks like in practice.
Great. Another question that came in is, if the OS is upgraded, how does the device get upgraded manually?
So if from our perspective, we track the asset discovery. So the preventative maintenance or like the work orders itself, would tend to be in the system that you're currently using. If a device is upgraded, that would be upgraded within our system. So we track that information in real time.
All right. And then we had a question come in. What is xDome's biggest can't talk. Wow, this is embarrassing. What are its biggest differences? The refrigerators, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're thinking about choosing an asset discovery solution, my recommendation would be, why Claroty xDome stands out or what specific needs it can solve. I would say asset discovery. We see, many customers come and choose our solution because they feel they have a gap. We notice specific device types or specific medical device models, for example, aren't picked up by maybe a solution they may already be having, resulting in devices that aren't operating properly or just an overall lack of understanding on certain devices in the network. And so I would say if you're really looking to install a data foundation in place, improve asset inventories in general across your medical devices and other devices, I would highly recommend Claroty xDome. And then I would also say, I don't know who's managing, your platform today. It could be run by Biomed. It could be run by a medical device cybersecurity expert. It could be sitting in IT security. Our solution is so multifaceted, and with our robust technical alliances program, it's easy to integrate into existing infrastructure that you may already have. And so I think, the fact that we can fit into existing processes and procedures that may already be used by security teams, by biomed teams, etc., makes the ease of use of implementing a platform such as ours really helpful for healthcare organizations.
Thank you. Let's see if I can speak English now. The HIPAA security mandates are coming up. Does Claroty align with NIST and cyber goals, essential and enhanced goals?
Yes. So I would, comments I'd have here as we think about, the proposed changes to the HIPAA security rule moving forward. Understanding your protected health information and how you're managing it is absolutely critical. And how Claroty can help, that identifying assets on your network, are devices on your network transmitting PHI? It's something that we can identify right off the bat. And then when it comes down to implementing specific security controls, kind of feeding that information and implementing things such as vulnerability management protocols, how you're segmenting your network or managing threats, all kind of come into play there for some heightened measurements or guidelines, best practices on some of these essential and enhanced goals. And if you have any more questions on that, we do have a white paper that is not part of your set you have today, but we'd be happy to follow up and share it out specifically on core capabilities within the platform that map to some of those essential and enhanced goals.
All right, sounds good. And then another question we had come in is when a Windows patch update has been applied to a system, does Claroty automatically close the related CVEs?
So from a vulnerability management standpoint, there's something that you would take the action on and remediate on within your existing solution. We give you automated risk recommendations right off the bat to enable any work orders that need to be generated or vulnerability remediation to happen quicker, but you're not actually performing that work within the platform, if that makes sense.
All right, sounds good. And then real quick, in closing, I want to thank you, Adina, for a great presentation today and invite everyone to check out claroty.com for more information. You, of course, can also contact them at that email address on your screen right there if you have any questions. A quick reminder that you can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey. The survey will be emailed to you in about 1 hour. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 CE credit from the ACI, and you will be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions or any issues with that, you can reach out to us by sending an email to webinar@mdpublishing.com. Adina, thank you again for a great presentation today. Thank you everyone for joining us and have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much, John.